As night slowly falls, a deep silence settles over Oldwood Forest. The wind moves gently through the trees, carrying whispers that feel almost intentional, as if the forest itself is trying to speak. This place has a history, a dark one. Even after all these years, something about it feels unsettled, unfinished. Tonight's story is about a case that remained unanswered for nearly a decade, a case that many believed was forgotten, until time itself decided otherwise. It was a foggy morning in early 2009 when authorities received a call. Deep within a remote section of the forest, a hiker had stumbled upon a deeply unsettling scene. A motionless body had been discovered. Investigators arrived to find a situation that immediately raised concerns. The location, the circumstances, the heavy silence, nothing about it felt ordinary. There were clear signs of a serious incident, confirming that what happened here was no accident. Yet, despite extensive efforts, the victim's identity remained unclear for a long, frustrating time. A case file was opened, evidence was collected, questions were asked, and then, slowly, the investigation faded into silence, swallowed by the countless other cases demanding attention. The trail went cold. Weeks turned into months, and months bled into years. With no solid leads and no clear suspect, the case was eventually classified as inactive, filed away in a cabinet, destined to be forgotten. But the forest did not forget. People living in the small towns bordering Oldwood began sharing unsettling stories. Some spoke of hearing footsteps crunching on leaves behind them while walking alone at night, only to turn and find nothing there. Others mentioned the distinct sound of branches moving when there was no wind at all. A few even claimed their phones would mysteriously lose signal the moment they stepped too deep into the woods, almost as if an invisible line was being crossed. Were these just coincidences, the product of overactive imaginations fueled by local lore? Or was it something more, something tied to the secret the forest kept? For 10 long years, the files sat untouched. Dust gathered on the folders. The ink on the reports began to fade, and the photographs yellowed at the edges. Memories blurred, and the sharp edges of the initial investigation softened into a dull, unresolved ache. Life moved on for everyone except for the truth, which remained buried under layers of soil and time. But the past has a way of refusing to stay buried forever. A new, younger, investigative team, armed with fresh perspectives and technologies unimaginable a decade prior, decided to reopen the case. They believed that advancements in forensic science could finally give a voice to the evidence that had remained silent for so long. Evidence once considered useless could now speak again, and that's when something completely unexpected emerged. Buried deep within the old records, a name popped up, a connection that had been previously overlooked or dismissed as insignificant. The name was Mason. He wasn't a suspect at the time, just a minor figure on the periphery. But when investigators ran his name through updated databases and cross-referenced old phone records, a new picture began to form. This analysis revealed that Mason had been in contact with the victim just hours before the incident. This discovery raised immediate red flags. Why hadn't this been explored further? Why did Mason never come forward with this information? The team knew they had to talk to him. Mason was brought in for questioning. He was calm, controlled, almost too composed. He denied any involvement, claiming he had only a passing acquaintance with the victim and had no idea what happened that night. His story was simple, straightforward, and, on the surface, believable. But something felt off. As investigators dug deeper into Mason's life, they uncovered troubling details from his past. There were prior incidents, unresolved conflicts, and a pattern of behavior that was hard to ignore. He had a history of disputes that, while never leading to serious charges, painted a picture of a man with a volatile temper hidden beneath a calm exterior. Yet there was still no direct, physical evidence tying him to the crime scene, at least not at first. The forensics from 2009 were limited. Still, the lead investigator couldn't shake the feeling that Mason knew more than he was letting on. His statements, when compared to his original, decade-old interview, shifted subtly. Small inconsistencies began to appear. Details changed. His memory of certain events seemed to blur in convenient ways. The more they pushed, the more cracks started to show in his perfectly constructed facade. As the new investigation gained momentum, a strange, unnerving atmosphere began to surround the case. Investigators reported unusual experiences. One officer, working late one night reviewing evidence photos, claimed he felt a sudden, intense chill in the room and had the unshakable feeling that he was being watched. Another mentioned hearing unexplained sounds coming from the edge of the forest during a routine visit back to the scene, faint whispers that the wind could account for. Even equipment began to malfunction more often than expected. Body cam footage would glitch at crucial moments, and audio recorders would pick up strange static. Rational explanations were always offered: stress, fatigue, simple coincidence. But the sheer number of these occurrences was hard to dismiss. It felt as if the closer they got to the truth, the more the case itself seemed to push back. During a later, more intense interrogation, Mason's composure finally broke. Cornered by the new data and inconsistencies in his story, he introduced a new claim. He insisted that the responsibility lay with an old acquaintance, someone who, conveniently, had passed away years earlier. According to Mason's new story, this deceased person had been the one involved, and Mason was only there as a witness, scared into silence. He could no longer defend himself, making him the perfect scapegoat. But the investigators were deeply skeptical. The evidence didn't support his version of events. In fact, newly analyzed cell tower data, a tool unavailable in 2009, placed Mason's phone near the exact location in the forest on the night in question, while the deceased acquaintance's phone was miles away. The web of lies was unraveling. The truth was closing in. Despite the mounting pressure and the strong circumstantial evidence pointing to Mason, the case refused to fully resolve. Some key pieces of evidence remained inconclusive. Some questions were still left unanswered, and the forest remained silent, holding onto its final secrets. To this day, Oldwood Forest stands unchanged. The tall trees cast long, endless shadows. It's a place that seems to remember everything it has witnessed. The whispers in the wind haven't stopped, and the feeling of being watched still lingers for those who wander too far off the path. Perhaps some stories are never meant to be fully explained. Perhaps some truths are destined to linger in the shadows, waiting patiently for a time that may never come. Because no matter how much time passes, and no matter how deeply a secret is buried, the past always finds a way to return, and some cases simply refuse to stay silent. Thanks for watching. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to like and subscribe for more mysteries from the shadows.